This conference will now be recorded.
That, yeah. All the deep. Yeah. At that time, yeah. Come on. No.
We'll call this June 6, 2022 meeting of the Sedalia City Council to order. We have Chaplain Madison, if you could go ahead and lead us in prayer and then a pledge of allegiance.
Could you stand as able and join me as we pray? Dear Lord and Father of all, we come to you this evening to ask your guidance as the Sedalia City Council, mayor, administrator, members, and staff meet to discuss and make decisions that affect this community and its people. We are so grateful for their dedication and service to our city. On a sad note, we have learned of the passing of Councilman Bob Cross's brother, and so we ask your blessing and comfort on the family as they struggle to deal with this grief. We ask your protection for all of our first responders, police, fire, sheriff, ambulance, EMTs, hospital staffs, and all who work daily and all night to protect and serve us, often at the risk of their own lives. We are grateful for the United States of America, our constitutional republic, for which so many have fought and died to create and preserve for over 240 years. We ask your blessing and protection for all military and civilians who still serve today, here and throughout the world, as they protect us, our great country, our way of life, under threat from without, and sadly, also from within. And now as we leave tonight, please protect us and our loved ones. Keep us from harm until we meet again. All this we pray in the name of our risen Savior, Jesus Christ. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please.
Robinson. Here. Oldham.
Here.
Marshall.
Here.
Bogus. Here. Richardson.
Here.
Cross is absent. Foster. Here. And Bliss.
Here. First item on the agenda is a few service awards we have. The first one we have is for Water Pollution Control Crew Supervisor Curtis Campbell and his 30 years of service. Just want to say thank you. We appreciate what you do. I'm going to shake the council people's hands. Congratulations. Thank you. Working together. Up next, we'll invite up Chief Irwin for our next service award.
Good evening, Mayor, Council, Mr. Shaw. Tonight we're giving driver operator Danny Bailey his 20-year service award. Danny's in the back of the room with his son Miles. His son Miles is sitting to his left. When he first started with the fire department, he was brand new to the world, as Danny says. And Danny doesn't really like all the hoopla. I almost had to arm wrestle him for this evening, which I would have lost. Danny started here 20 years ago. In 2009, he was promoted to driver. He's one of our longest tenured drivers with the department. He's also one of our fire instructors. 2018, he received an excellent performance note in his file on work that he did on the call for CPR of full cardiac arrest with a life save. So Danny has put a lot of stuff into a short amount of time, and 20 years seems like a lot, but it is not. He also used to give me a whole lot of grief when we were younger about our birth dates. We almost share a birthday, is that correct? 1 month. So I'm senior by 1 month, so, no, he's senior by 1 month. Danny Bailey, please come up. Congratulations for 20 years of service. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All right, up next, we'll invite up Chief Ward as he has a service award. Daniel Bennard, come forward.
As usual, I wrote something out to keep me on task. But Daniel started with the Stellia Police Department in May in 2007. Since being with the police department, he has served in the positions of patrol unit, traffic unit, investigations, entry team, along with being named Officer of the Year. I'll do one story. He used to come in and he would ride along, as I believe you were at maybe internship for the college, and he would ride along with me and he would never say anything. And we all know me and talking, so he would put up and ride with me and he wouldn't say much. And I thought, oh, I wonder what this guy's going to be like. Well, here it is 15 years later, and he's made his mark with it. He was promoted to corporal in 2019 and sergeant in 2022. He is known for being a solid performer and having a very strong work ethic. Many years, Daniel is one of the top performers in the number of reports taken, amount of traffic stops made, and the amount of arrests. He treats people with dignity and respect, not allowing negativity to keep him down. Daniel is also known for his laid-back personality and his enormous strength. No one ever wants to partner with him when we do physical skills, because they know who's going to win. Daniel, on behalf of the City of Sedalia and the Sedalia Police Department, congratulations on 15 years of service.
Mess it up.
Okay, up next, we have the approval of the May 16th, 2022 council meeting minutes. Do I have a motion and a second?
Second.
A motion from Councilman Marshall and a second from Councilman Robinson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. Up next, we have a roll call of standing committees, Finance and Administration. Chairman Richardson, you have the floor.
All right, my first item, Human Resource Director Shannon Rainey will give a presentation on some personnel policies that we propose making some revisions to. I'll hand it over to Shannon.
All right, good evening, Honorable Mayor, members of the council, City Administrator Shaw. As Councilman Richardson mentioned, we're going to go ahead and go over some personnel policies that we would like to look to update and get your input in and direction on. As mentioned, same thing, and also we would like to look at a volunteer code of conduct as well, which will be a separate policy, a standalone policy. So what we're looking to currently change or update, can you guys hear me okay? Okay. Okay. What we're looking to change or update is our current drug testing policy, as well as moving our vacation and sick leave and holiday accruals to one as a PTO, pay time off policy, PTO policy. As I mentioned, a standalone volunteer code of conduct. And again, as we discussed actually about a year ago, looking to separate procedure from policy, have a city policy manual and then have a procedures manual. With the drug testing, what we would like to do is be able to include swab testing as part of our testing procedures. Currently, we do, of course, pre-employment testing as well as post-accident, which includes our employees to go to a third party and have a urine drug screening done, as well as an alcohol breathalyzer, and also random drug testing a couple times a year. By implementing a swab testing procedure, this will help with our hiring process, as well as eliminate employees having to leave, taking time away from their job. As we know, swab testing can actually, it's very quick, and the price is considerably less. So currently we pay about $45 per drug screen, and an alcohol test is actually $26. With a swab test, we can get that down to $10 or less per test, which would be a significant savings. This year we actually implemented new testing for our parks employees, so that again, of course, has dramatically increased our budget. And the other thing is, of course, if we had a swab test that came up positive, we of course, or inconclusive, we would go ahead and send them to that third party to ensure that, you know, everything was either correct or maybe there was an issue with the test. In an effort, of course, to separate the procedure from policy, it would actually take our current policy, which is 13 pages, down to about a page and a quarter. So again, that would be a much easier reading for our employees versus the 13 pages. Any comments or? Oh.
I guess I would add to that too. Part of the reasoning behind this is our, you know, our 24/7 operations. They are very difficult to get into the testing. So this would be, you know, like a post-accident or something like that. If it comes back you know, the swab test comes back negative, we just go back to work. We don't no longer have to call them back in to come back in and do the test within a certain number of hours and all of that. So it's makes it a lot more convenient, a lot more efficient, and therefore easier to follow the policy.
And currently we've actually are working with the police department because there's a lot of times with Bothwell that they're unable to do a DOT or even post-accident alcohol test. And so we've worked with Chief Wirt, and currently if it's off hours or the weekend, employees can go to the police department. They'll actually video it, and they'll do the alcohol test right then and there, as well as, of course, have a printout. So, you know, we're working on other alternatives now, and of course we've checked with our work comp provider, and that's acceptable. So, the only thing that we won't be able to do for swab testing currently is CDL drivers, because of course they're under a whole different ball of regulations. However, I did get some information within the last month or two that they're actually looking at approving certain swab tests for CDL drivers as well.
Are the test samples collected and then mailed into a lab, or are you doing like some type of in the office type deal, like reagent?
It would be in the office, so almost similar to like a at-home COVID test, and it would be swab inside the mouth. We, of course, wouldn't necessarily do it. We would give it to the candidate, the employee, to do it, and then we would be able to test it right then and there. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Paid time off. So currently we're looking at the paid time off policy not to affect our public, our police and fire department at this time. And so what we're looking at is merging these for our general employees. And again, as I mentioned, what we're looking at is taking our vacation, sick, and holiday accrual and rolling it all into one accrual bucket instead of the three. This, of course, would allow employees a lot more flexibility when it comes to taking time off. You know, fortunately, if you have an employee that, you know, isn't sick, they'd be able to actually utilize more time for vacation or time off with their family instead of having that sick leave bank. It also allows for a better work-life balance for our employees, which, of course, we always strive for. It also gives the employees that are required to work on holidays, again, that flexibility to either utilize the day, of course, if they're not working, or utilize it at a different time instead of having to take it that day. We'd also like to look at and discuss with everybody a cash out option, as well as potentially lifting or completely removing our maximum accruals. This policy would help to reward our dependable employees, which again is what we would like to look at doing. And then of course it avoids and takes away that use it or lose it mentality that employees are, afraid of, that they're going to lose that time, so they have to, rush at sometimes inconvenient times to use that time, or a lot of employees all at once and us having to risk denying vacation time. But of course, on the other hand of it, we do always want to encourage time off as well, because as we know, we need to have that time away from work to reset. So a couple of topics for discussion that we wanted to bring up is, again, do we look at the maximum accrual? Do we look at potentially removing? I listed on there what we're currently doing for vacation days, as well as holidays and sick, so that we had something to look at and discuss. And then again, do we look at allowing a cash out option for employees at a specific time of the year, not necessarily throughout the year, but one time a year if they're over a certain amount? Also, do we want to look at hourly employees accruing based on hours worked, requiring a minimum amount of hours to be worked or used each year? So again, encouraging employees to take time off. And then, of course, do we want to look at a cap payment upon termination in good standing? So I've seen it, of course, in some places where you don't necessarily get paid out your full amount, but upon termination, if you give your 2 weeks notice, so on and so forth, you get paid up to 80 hours. Because I know, again, if we take off the max accrual option, there may be that concern that when an employee leaves, do we have a very huge liability that we will need to look at? So just some items for discussion.
Any thoughts? We got a question? Mm-hmm. What about being able to donate my accumulated sick leave to someone else if they get a cast off event? Have you thought about any of that?
We currently have a policy in place for that, and we're not looking to change that. We're looking to still be able to have that option.
What's your all thoughts about caps, accrual caps?
You want to start down with Councilman Robinson?
I have no problem with accrual. Do you think does it create a dollar liability? Is that the question about it?
With caps? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah. I'll just give you benefit of my feeling on caps, is that it puts you if you put a cap on the accrual, it puts it in a situation to where the employee either has to use it or lose it, because then when they get capped out, they can't use it. The argument against removing the cap, to me, doesn't make sense. But the argument that I've always heard is you accrue a large liability. Well, okay, if you accrue the liability versus the putting the cap on it, making them use it, you either got to pay them or you accrue the liability. So all you're doing is defer it, and you're paying them later, whereas the cap forces them to take it now, so you're paying them now as opposed to accruing. So I don't see a problem with removing the cap or doing it to where you have a cap, and then anything above the cap you pay it out at a certain time during the year, which I've worked with some systems that's the way we've done it in the past. But the caps, in my opinion, basically penalizes the dependable employee that shows up to work every day. So that's my opinion. But that's where we wanted to get council thoughts or buy-in before we move forward.
I would stand against caps. Curtis has been here for 30 years. Why not add a few more days to that, or have him continue accumulating? And second, we're in a generation that you're not going to get employees really who are going to stay for 30 plus years. That's just not the mentality of young people anymore. Maybe you're few and very far between, but I think that's an extremely good incentive to have, be able to just, if you stay with a company for 30 years, you're going to get rewarded just as anybody else should.
Yeah, I am too. I agree with what Tom said. You know, you've got some employees, especially in our fire department and our police department that's been there a lot of years. And so if you've got those faithful employees that stay with us, then they should be able to earn.
Yeah, just to make sure that we understand what we're talking about as far as caps. Currently, for example, for general employees, they can accrue up to 400 hours of vacation, and then it stops accruing. That's the cap we're talking about removing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so it's, whatever the, currently, if you remove the cap, they could accrue up more than the 400 hours. It only has to do with longevity, because when you get more longevity, you're accruing it faster, so you hit the cap faster, right? So, yeah, so that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I don't see a need to put a cap on it.
I agree with basically everybody else. I don't think the cap is necessary, and as we're short staffed now in some areas that we would really like to get to work instead of taking time because they don't want to lose it. So I think the cap, it's good to take them away.
You're talking about combining sick leave, vacation,
And holiday pay.
and holiday.
Mm-hmm.
I don't have any problem removing the cap, but I want to see a detailed plan on how those two things are going to go together and how that fits with a 400-hour cap.
Yeah, that's the purpose of this discussion is we want to get some of these decided, in general principles, and then we will talk to employees more, and then after we bring that, then we would bring back the whole plan. But as we're designing the plan, we wanted to get some of these big general type items where council wants us to go. So
I can think of PD and fire as somebody that needs a vacation who decides, hey, I'm not ever going to take a vacation because I'm accumulating hours. I don't want that to happen either. I don't think that's good.
And
extreme.
right, and that's when we could also put a provision in there that, employees are required to take a week off every year. So that way, whether it's, concurrently or intermittently, that way we ensure that employees are utilizing their time and they're not just kind of hoarding it either to sell it possibly later, but that way they have that work-life balance that we're striving for.
Once you probably can, certain departments tell someone they need to take a week off?
Depending on the situation, we can certainly put somebody on administrative leave.
Then the next question would be to allow for a cash-out option. We'll start back down at the end of the table with Councilman Robinson.
Well, yeah, I don't see any problem.
Yes.
Councilwoman Foster.
Yes, you should be able to get your
Councilman Bliss.
We have now?
We don't currently have this now.
Okay.
This would be an in-service cash-out option. So basically, we could say that if an employee has over a certain amount of hours, that they're able to sell back at 100%, and we would go ahead and pay it like maybe once a year around the holiday, around Christmas time.
Same deal with me, then I don't have any problem right now, but I will speak for you.
Of course.
Next question, payment upon termination of employment in good standing.
That is our current practice. If an employee does terminate or resign, retire, we do pay them out at 100% of what they've accrued currently.
But then if they're not in good standing, then it's not paid out. So that's
Correct.
really the question.
Mm-hmm.
Do we want to continue that practice, or do you want to pay it out regardless?
What we do is if they're not in quote good standing, and what is quote good standing?
Yeah, so if they leave, if they give us notice, they give us 2 weeks notice and they resign, then they're resigned in good standing.
Okay.
If we terminate them, that is not in good standing.
Right.
And so if we terminate an employee, their accrued vacation or sick leave is not paid out.
Or if they come to us today and say, today's my last day. So for general employees, it is the 15 days. For your director level and above, it's 30 days that are required per policy.
I have a hard time with that. I think it should be paid.
I would say, I was going to stay with what we've currently done. With some of the cases that council's been proceeding with, I think we've been able to handle those efficiently. And so I think the proper practice is what we have been doing.
Okay.
So you're for maintaining the current practice?
Maintain current practice.
And, Councilman Robinson, you're for, paying them out regardless?
Yeah.
Okay. Councilman Marshall?
I was working, somebody's hurt, not on the job, they can't work, and they're gonna wanna lose their job. That's good standing or not?
Again, it typically would be within good standing because a lot of times we have a lot of different things, obviously, that we would go through in regards to FMLA or ADA and certain, accommodations. We also have it when an employee, as Councilman Bliss mentioned, we can do a sick leave transfer if need be. So we would know well in advance that employee wouldn't be able to continue working for us. So more than likely, depending on the situation, it would be considered in good standing.
And we do, in our current policy, if somebody, heaven forbid, dies in service, then it's paid out. It's also considered in good standing.
Mm-hmm.
The final concern is if somebody works great, year, 2 years, and then there's a last little hiccup that might impact their time that they've approved. That's why I'm concerned. I think that if they work 40 hours, they should be able to get.
And in certain situations, I've either brought it, of course, to City Administrator Shaw, who's also brought it to the City Council, and we can always make, certain determinations the council can override based on the circumstance.
Seems like a lot of gray area.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you fall on that specifically?
They should be able to get paid.
So you're, okay.
Yeah, go with what we're doing now, with the big standing, things like that.
Go ahead, things are heating up.
Yep.
Yeah, Councilman Rick?
Yeah, I'm finding myself, agreeing with Marshall and Robinson. Yeah, they put it and they've earned it. It's kind of already it's already theirs, but they should get it regardless.
Councilwoman Foster?
Kind of on the fence, because I do think that if they've earned it, they should get it, but I do think that situations that happen that stuff happens sometimes, and it's not necessarily on purpose, but we make bad choices sometimes, and I don't know that I'm kind of on the fence. I like that, I know, okay, so then I I think we should pay them. I think if they've earned it, then we should pay them. I think it's important that we're consistent. And I think more times than not, maybe it's because I'm an optimist, but that people intend to do the right thing, and then if you've worked and earned it, then you should get it regardless of the choice at the end.
Okay. Councilman Bliss?
I think we're okay to pay it, but I want to kind of review, as we do this and I see this plan, I also want to review how we treat people that get called out on a holiday
and how they're, reimbursed for the whole process. I know there's, I can't remember precisely, but I know there's been some concern by some of our employees about being called out on a holiday, and then, and I'll be better prepared when we see the whole plan. I'll go back and then ask some of the folks.
Okay.
But I really think we need to really look at someone that's home and gets called out on a
So just for clarity,
water issue or something like that.
just for clarity, Councilman Bliss, you're in favor of paying them, regardless of their standing? Is that what I'm gathering?
No, I'm not.
Are you
Not
maintaining?
no, I'm the current policy.
Okay, so you're maintaining the current policy, okay?
If they're good standing, then we go forward.
Okay. Is that, we got clear direction from everybody, even though it's nice? Yeah? Which I love the mix of that, that's great.
It's 3-4, so.
3-4, all right.
We'll obviously have some opportunity as we develop the actual policy to kind of flush that out and, those kinds of things. In talking about the holiday and the call-out, Councilman Bliss, that the PTO policy makes it a lot easier to handle those, because, again, we don't recognize certain holidays. We just say, here's your PTO. If you want off, you get off. If you work, you get paid. So,
but I'm talking about when we call them in.
Yeah.
I know there's been some issues with that, and I can't call them all right now, but as long as we address them and when we see this upcoming plan, I'm happy.
Okay.
Okay, we'll go to the next question would be, hourly accrued based on hours worked. That's currently what we're doing, right?
No, currently, like our vacation and sick leave and all of that, you get so many hours per pay period. And PTO, you can change that to where, and what I would recommend is you base it on the hours that they work. And that allows you to open it up to a different number of hours and those kinds of things, much simpler. And again, it rewards the dependable employee because the more hours they work, and if they work overtime, then they're actually accruing more hours for vacation time later. So again, it rewards the dependable employee and the employee that works a lot of overtime for us.
We'll start down at the end with Councilman Robinson.
I'll stand with the recommendation.
I agree.
Yeah.
Me too.
Okay.
Next one would be require a minimum amount of hours to be used each year.
And that's what Shannon was just talking about.
You know, banks require people to take vacations to determine to break up a pattern if there's some kind of illegal activity going on. I don't suppose we can be faced with that, but we could. And the other thing is, it's good to get people off the job for a while, whether they know it or not.
Yeah, absolutely. In finance, we require vacation. And somebody else to do their job while they're on vacation for that very reason.
And in addition to, like I said, if there is an issue, or if there is a concern within a department, we are able to put them out on paid administrative leave that wouldn't necessarily affect their use of PTO or currently vacation time.
Nope, I agree.
Okay.
I think we're all about the same.
Do you need any type of direction on the amount of time, or is that getting too far down into the weeds?
We can do that when we bring the policy back, so.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see, cap payment upon termination in good standing.
Isn't that the same?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kind of already answered
I think if we're gonna go towards, paying out regardless of standing, we would probably go to pay out 100%. instead of putting a cap on it. Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks, everybody.
And then volunteer code of conduct, Councilman Oldham had brought to my attention, as well as Mayor Dawson last year, had requested a volunteer code of conduct. And I do have a draft put together, and just wanted to see again, if there's any direction on that, anything additional. As stated before, this would be a standalone policy. It wouldn't necessarily go into our personnel policies. But any volunteer that would volunteer for the city, regardless of department, parks, animal shelter, any department for that matter, they would be required to, of course, read it over and sign off that they agree to the standards and expectations that we have set. And we can certainly bring forward that draft that we have.
Anybody want to provide any input on that?
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, I agree. Well, none heard, we'll move along.
And that was all that I had this evening. So I really appreciate everybody's time tonight and direction, and we'll make sure to get those drafts together and in front of you here in the next couple of weeks. Thank you. Just leave it here.
I have one question for you. Just right now, when we have a volunteer, do we do any kind of background check on that volunteer?
Not that I'm aware of.
I think we should do that too. There's some little bit of scrutiny.
Yeah, and Parks, okay, so, yeah, that I'm not aware of, but we can certainly, like I said, we're currently utilizing a third party for all of our background checks that aren't just for here in the state of Missouri. It checks nationwide, counties, sex registry, all of that stuff like that. So we can certainly ensure that once somebody signs that code of conduct, that we can run them through our background check as well prior to them starting.
I was thinking of parks and some of the volunteers, and if you just check the PD and things like that.
Yeah, Parks does a limited one, and what this policy is.
I thought they probably did, but.
Yeah, it basically has them sign off that we're going to run a background check on them, so that we have the ability to do a more extensive background check. So.
All right. Okay. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Thanks, Aaron. All right. State statute requires that every 2 years, council must review and adopt.
Speaking of code of conduct. He snuck up and he came back.
All right. Yeah, state statute requires every 2 years, city council must review and adopt by ordinance procedures for handling potential conflicts of interest. I believe we need to do a re-ordinance.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-88, an ordinance readopting section 2-833 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, which establishes a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials.
Second reading.
Second. Motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Bliss. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-88, an ordinance readopting section 2-833 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, which establishes a procedure to disclose potential conflicts of interest and substantial interest for certain officials.
Final passage.
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Robinson. Roll call, please.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus? Yes. Richardson?
Yes.
Ross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
And Robinson?
Yes.
That's 7 yes and 1 absent.
All right, my third item, with the expiration of Mayor Katie's term and the election of Mayor Dawson, we need to update our signatory authorities with the bank. While we are doing this, we are also realigning some staff duties and authorizations. If there's any questions, we'll direct that to Mr. Shaw.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, do I have a call for the ordinance?
Bill number 2022-89, an ordinance designating a change in signatories and authorized representatives for the bank accounts and investments owned by the City of Sedalia.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-89, an ordinance designating a change in signatories and authorizing representatives for the bank accounts and investments owned by the city of Sedalia.
Final passage.
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
And Oldham.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
All right, up next we have public safety. Chairman Robinson, you have the floor.
We have a new memorandum of understanding between State Fair Community College and, the city. There's no cost to the city. And we have an ordinance that's prepared, which we should adopt.
Okay. Any further council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-90, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, Sedalia Fire Department, and State Fair Community College for the offering of Fire Academy 1 and 2 through said college.
Second reading.
Second. I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Bliss. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-90, an ordinance authorizing a memorandum of understanding by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, Sedalia Fire Department, and State Fair Community College for the offering of Fire Academy 1 and 2 through said college.
Final passage.
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Okay, we have a, 3-year agreement with the fire department and the city and Brighter compliance engine. I would ask that this be read once, please.
Okay. Or you just wanted to read it once and let it set?
Yes, please. That'll give the, customers, as it were, time to interact with the fire department, see what comes out from that.
Okay. Is everybody else okay with that? I think that's what we had discussed initially. Yeah, it was to read it and let it set. Okay.
That's what council directed staff to do.
Okay. All right, let's call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-91, an ordinance authorizing a 3-year agreement by and between the city of Sedalia, Missouri, Sedalia Fire Department, and Brighter LLC for use of the compliance engine.
Does the motion need to be made for anything? No. I didn't think so.
If no motion's made, then it's not
I
ready.
didn't know motion to stand or something needed.
Correct. Just, we're done. Right.
Yeah. All right, move along to Public Works.
All right.
Got Chairman Oldham, you have the floor.
We have 17 items tonight. We're going to go through them quick. Here we go. First one, we have reached the end of a lease agreement for a few pieces of equipment. So staff has recommended to buy out the lease of 2 backhoes and start a new lease for 1 wheel loader. This is through Foley Equipment Company.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-92, an ordinance authorizing the purchasing and lease of equipment for the street division and water pollution control.
Second reading.
A motion from Councilman Oldham and a second from Councilman Richardson. All in favor? All opposed?
Bill number 2022-92, an ordinance authorizing the purchasing and lease of equipment for the street division and water pollution control.
Final passage.
Second.
Got a motion from Councilman Oldham and a second from Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
And Bogus.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Second item, we need to approve a task order number 6 for the new North Water Treatment Plant. This task order adds scope of services for Burns and McDonald to narrow down where a suitable site would be on the projected development area.
Any further council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-93, an ordinance authorizing task order number 6 for services related to the setting of a new north wastewater treatment plant and review of the existing lift station.
Second reading.
Well, a motion from Councilman Oldham and a second from Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-93, an ordinance authorizing task order number 6 for services related to the setting of a new north wastewater treatment plant and review of the existing lift station.
Final passage.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Foster and a second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson? Yes. Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
And Richardson?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Third item, in the past, the placement of trash containers were directed to the police department. City staff feels it could be more appropriately handled through the public works department. So we need to approve the revision of the ordinance.
Any further council discussion? Call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-94, an ordinance amending section 48-29 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, by restricting the use of refuge containers placed on municipal roadways.
Second reading.
Well, a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-94, an ordinance amending section 48-29 of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, by restricting the use of refuge containers placed on municipal roadways.
Final passage.
Second.
The motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
And Cross is absent, so that's 7 yes and 1 absent.
Fourth item, we need to approve the purchase of 10 electric actuators from Simco Contracting for the water filtration plant.
Any further council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-95, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote from Smyco Contracting Group LLC for the purchase of 10 electric actuators for the water filtration plant.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilwoman Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-95, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote from Smyco Contracting Group LLC for the purchase of 10 electric actuators for the water filtration plant.
Final passage.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent, and Foster.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Fifth item, we need to approve and accept a quote from Lane Christensen Company for the rehabilitation of well number 18.
Any further council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-96, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote from Lane Christensen Company for the rehabilitation of water well number 18.
Second reading.
A motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-96, an ordinance approving and accepting a quote from Lane Christensen Company for the rehabilitation of water well number 18.
Final passage.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
And Bliss.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 6, we need to authorize the annexation and utility agreement with Bogdan and Elena Ostapinko at 3480 Brooklyn Avenue.
Any further council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-97, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri, and Bogdan and Alina Ostapenko for connection of property located in Pettis County, Missouri, to the City of Sedalia sanitary sewer and water system.
Second reading?
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-97, an ordinance authorizing an annexation and utility services agreement by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri, and Bogdan and Alina Ostapenko for connection of property located in Pettis County, Missouri, to the City of Sedalia sanitary sewer and water system.
Final passage?
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Oldham,
Yes.
Marshall,
Yes.
Bogus,
Yes.
Richardson,
Yes.
Cross is absent, Foster,
Yes.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 7, we need to approve a task order number 5 for the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant. This is for geotechnical sampling and engineering services for its upgrades.
Any council discussion? Brenda, I do have a question. Do you have any idea approximately where that new clarifier is going to go, or are they just figuring that out with us? They actually have a location. They do? There's only one spot left large enough on the property. Yeah. Huh. And the geotechnical, the underground, structures will not do that. Okay. How do you do it? Right. Okay. Thank you. Call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-98, an ordinance authorizing task order number 5 for geotechnical sampling and engineering services related to the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant upgrade.
Second reading?
Second.
I have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-98, an ordinance authorizing task order number 5 for geotechnical sampling and engineering services related to the Central Wastewater Treatment Plant upgrade.
Final passage?
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
And Oldham.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 8 is through the growth of our city, Central Missouri Electric Cooperative now serves many of our residents who now live within the city limits. We need to approve a franchise agreement with Central Missouri Electric Co-op.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-99, an ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, granting Central Missouri Electric Cooperative Incorporated, its successors and assigns, a franchise and authorizing to construct, operate, and maintain all appropriate facilities for carrying out on a light, heat, and power business, granting the right to use the streets, alleys, and all other public places of the city within the present or future service territory of the company therefore, and prescribing the terms and conditions of such authorization.
Second reading?
Second.
A motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-99, an ordinance of the City of Sedalia, Missouri, granting Central Missouri Electric Cooperative Incorporated, its successors and assigns, a franchise authorization to construct, operate, and maintain all appropriate facilities for carrying out on a light, heat, and power business, granting the right to use the streets, alleys, and all other public places of the city within the present or future service territory of the company therefore, and prescribing the terms and conditions of such authorization.
Final passage?
We have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
August?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
And Marshall?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Number 9, we need to approve agreement with Instituform Technologies USA for CIPP lining of various sanitary lines.
Council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-100. An ordinance approving and accepting a cooperative agreement by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri and Instituform Technologies USA LLC to perform cured in-place pipelining of various sanitary sewer lines in the City of Sedalia, Missouri.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilwoman Foster. All in favor? All opposed?
Bill number 2022-100. An ordinance approving and accepting a cooperative agreement by and between the City of Sedalia, Missouri and Instituform Technologies USA LLC to perform cured in-place pipelining of various sanitary sewer lines in the City of Sedalia, Missouri.
Final passage.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 10, we need to approve an agreement with JCI Industries for high-service pump replacement at our water filtration plant.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-101, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with JCI Industries LLC for the replacement of high-service pump 3 and installation of a variable frequency drive at the water filtration plant.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-101, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with JCI Industries LLC for the replacement of high-service pump 3 and installation of a variable frequency drive at the water filtration plant.
Final passage.
Second.
I got the motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Okay, Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 11, we need to authorize agreement with Ryan Construction Company for water main replacement at Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Road.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-102, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Ryan Construction Company LLC for water main replacement on Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Road.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Marshall. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Just a moment. Okay, Bill number 2022-102, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Ryan Construction Company LLC for water main replacement on Driftwood Drive and Honeysuckle Road.
Final passage.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
And Cross is absent, so it's 7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 12, we need to authorize agreement with Ryan Construction Company for water main replacement at East 9th and South Ingram.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-103, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Ryan Construction Company LLC for water main replacement on East 9th Street from South Ingram Avenue to South Hancock Avenue and the 3,000 to 4,000 block of South Ingram Avenue.
Second reading.
The motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-103, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with Ryan Construction Company LLC for water main replacement on East 9th Street from South Ingram Avenue to South Hancock Avenue and the 3,000 to 4,000 block of South Ingram Avenue.
Final passage.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Foster. Roll call, please.
Bliss,
Yes.
Robinson. Yes. Oldham.
Yes.
Marshall.
Yes.
Bogus.
Yes.
Richardson.
Yes.
Cross is absent. And Foster.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Number 13, authorize agreement with FTC Equipment for the replacement of backwash wet well submersible pump and controllers for the water filtration plant.
Any council discussion? Having heard none, call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-104, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with FTC Equipment LLC for replacement of 2 backwash wet well submersible pumps and controllers at the water filtration plant.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilwoman Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-104, an ordinance authorizing an agreement with FTC Equipment LLC for replacement of 2 backwash wet well submersible pumps and controllers at the water filtration plant.
Final passage.
Motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Marshall. Roll call, please.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
And Bliss.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 14, with the new Heckert Community Center, many are not staying alert or using proper safety measures with entering and exiting the center. Thus, a stop sign has been added to the exit, so we need to approve that stop sign.
Any further council discussion regarding the stop sign? Call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-105, an ordinance establishing stop signs at the Heckert Community Center parking lot exits at the intersections with West 3rd Street and Liberty Park Boulevard.
Second reading.
Second.
We have a motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilwoman Foster. All in favor? Aye. All opposed?
Bill number 2022-105, an ordinance establishing stop signs at the Heckert Community Center parking lot exits at the intersections with West 3rd Street and Liberty Park Boulevard.
Final passage.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilwoman Foster. Roll call, please.
Oldham?
Yes.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 15, we need to approve the change order number 3 to add curb, gutter, stormwater structure, and an asphalt base for the Autumn Avenue extension.
Any further council discussion? Call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-106, an ordinance authorizing change order number 3 with S&A Equipment and Builders for the addition of curb, gutter, stormwater structures, and roadway asphalt base for the extension of Autumn Avenue from Spring Street to Main Street.
Second reading.
Second.
Motion from Councilman Oldham and a second from Councilwoman Foster. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-106, an ordinance authorizing change order number 3 with S&A Equipment and Builders for the addition of curb, gutter, stormwater structures, and roadway asphalt base for the extension of Autumn Avenue from Spring Street to Main Street.
Final passage.
A motion by Councilman Oldham and a second by Councilman Richardson. Roll call, please.
Marshall?
Yes.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
And Oldham?
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Item number 16, we need to authorize change order number 1 for project 4A. Throughout just engineering oversight, we had purchased 24-inch pipe for that project area. So we need to purchase 18-inch pipe. We're not going to return the 24-inch pipe. We can use that material for another project in town.
Okay. Any further council discussion? Call for the ordinance.
Bill number 2022-107, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 with J. Richardson Construction for a reduction in drainage pipe size to allow for installation under an existing water line for storm drainage project area 4A.
Second reading.
Motion by Councilman Oldham and second by Councilman Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Bill number 2022-107, an ordinance authorizing change order number 1 with J. Richardson Construction for a reduction in drainage pipe size to allow for installation under an existing water line for storm drainage project area 4A.
Final passage.
A motion by Councilman Oldham, second by Councilman Marshall. Roll call, please.
Bogus?
Yes.
Richardson?
Yes.
Cross is absent. Foster?
Yes.
Bliss?
Yes.
Robinson?
Yes.
Oldham?
Yes.
And Marshall.
Yes.
7 yes and 1 absent.
Number 17 and the final one. The Missouri Department of Natural Resources has released their instructions for application for grants for the allocation they receive on the federal funds under the American Rescue Plan Act. The staff has identified projects that they believe would qualify for this funding and are requesting us to authorize them to make these applications. This will consist of 3 resolutions. One is for a stormwater project, one is for a wastewater project, and one is for a water project.
What was the third time?
Water. Just water, yeah.
Drinking water.
Drinking water.
Any further council discussion regarding the 3 resolutions? Having heard none, we'll call for the reading of the first resolution regarding the stormwater project.
Resolution 1961, a resolution authorizing the Sedalia Public Works Department to act as an agent for the city of Sedalia in the application process with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Financial Assistance Center state ARPA grant programs for subaward of federal financial assistance provided to the state of Missouri by the U.S. Department of the Treasury pursuant to Section 602B of the Social Security Act as acted by Section 9901 of the American Rescue Plan Act, Publication 1, number 117-2, March 11, 2021, 135 stat, .4, 223-26.
Motion to approve.
The motion by Councilman Oldham and the second by Councilman Richardson. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you. I'll call for the reading of the next resolution regarding the wastewater project.
Resolution 1962, a resolution authorizing the Sedalia Public Works Department to act as an agent for the city of Sedalia in the application process with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Financial Assistance Center state ARPA grant programs for subaward of federal financial assistance provided to the state of Missouri by the U.S. Department of the Treasury pursuant to Section 602B of the Social Security Act as added by Section 9901 of the American Rescue Plan Act, Publication L number 117-2, March 11, 21, and 135 stat, .4, 223-26.
Motion to approve.
The motion from Councilman Oldham and the second from Councilman Richardson. All in favor? Aye. All opposed? Call for the reading of the final resolution regarding the water projects.
Resolution 1963, a resolution authorizing the Sedalia Public Works Department to act as an agent for the city of Sedalia in the application process with the Missouri Department of Natural Resources Financial Assistance Center state
This conference will now be recorded.